there's two unused restaurants in Florida that I know have coolers in them.
Well, in your old restaurant, Scott, how big a cooler did you have in there?
Probably 6 by 10, I would think.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard size cooler.
I think it'd be better to be individually.
Oh, it's yours?
Yeah.
Yep, I would.
If you did the walk-in, then, cause you can, the shelving, you can go up 4 high, you'd have,
Right.
there's a hydraulic lift that you'd have to buy.
Right.
And
And
that
with
makes
the other one, you just kind of put a cot to them and slide them in.
Right.
On top of it and push
So,
them in.
there's a lot of weight around,
Right.
it still has to be done
Depends
on
on
that,
this.
and
That's where you go actually place it. 'Cause if I remember right, there's like a little carport on one side, isn't there?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, down here, there's a cardboard up there,
yeah,
yeah.
it's kinda like, I don't know, maybe you guys thought about boxing that in for privacy when you move the bodies in and out.
So,
There's a lot to,
Right, there's a lot to go.
there's still a lot of discussion that we'll have to do with you guys.
Right.
yeah,
Can we answer any more questions for the comment, or dodge any more questions?
No, I think you've dodged this quite well, yeah.
Okay.
I feel rather confident that the savings in fuel, running 3, maybe 4 times on one body.
Right.
You know, if it declares or has to have an autopsy, you're running up there and back again. The cost of storing them off-site into another county, we could, you know, obviously save that money and then potentially provide that service for other counties if they get in a pinch. I mean, it's very similar to the prison, and the jail population. You know, we're paying $55,000-$60,000 a year for off-site housing when we could have that here, save that money. Now, that's not gonna pay for the entire expense of running a new jail. However, those are significant savings that most people don't realize we're spending. You know, and we don't get any benefit from that at all in the county.
Well, I know that Tobin tries to work real hard on making sure of what prisoners are over there are not the ones that have to be transported all the time, but every time they have to come back and forth, we're paying a lot of money. They're just like when we have to take a body somewhere back and forth. I mean, so, yeah, we're better off in our own county here. Thanks, you guys.
I got the
Sure.
certificate of appointment that is the next thing that needs to be signed. It's, for Cameron Yates, you had appointed him to the Alcohol Beverage Board. And this is the certificate that you need to sign to the ABC, under other.
Is it just one commissioner's signature?
What are we doing here?
We appointed Cameron to the ABC alcohol back.
Not sure that's a good idea.
It's completely different from these things.
Huh?
It's completely different from your. That helps you.
I need to report, I guess, to both of you that, NTU. And I left my phone at home, I thought I had my phone, here I got the planner, but, we have some preliminary numbers on running water and sewage down to the jail. And it looks like that a 5-inch main water, with, you know, of course, that's pressurized main, and a, 18-inch gravity drain sewage, about $1.6 million. So, that kinda snapped my head back there when I saw that.
That's not
Fine,
including purchase.
models, 18 inch.
Yeah.
18-inch, yeah.
Is that the minimum?
Huh?
Is that the minimum
Minimum what?
size?
I don't know. Pat, just when we were sitting in the meeting in here, Pat Clausen brought up, he says, we ought to run about a 20-inch line down there, so we got enough room, we don't wanna run a little sewer line.
Right.
And then somehow when it went to the engineering company, they came back and said an 18-inch line. And,
Steve, I think they originally said the
What?
jail,
What?
the jail capacity
Uh-huh.
would require about an 8-inch line, but why not put in an 18 or
Right.
20-inch line? You know, for
Well, that
building,
depends if,
potential
yeah,
building
entities
on
jump
the
in
south
and
side
help
of
with that.
100.
So I just thought, you know, I wish I had that number, Scott. He, we have it down pretty darn close on the number on that.
Yeah, are we any closer on the easement on it?
Not yet.
Hadn't accepted
No,
our
I
offer?
mean, the various plans are out of state,
Oh.
elderly, Kansas, you know, so there's a communications, right? Yeah.
Cause without the easement, we're trying to
No,
set
we're
those.
not the, one way or another.
One point six.
Backwards on the signature. Anything else come before the board? Yes, Scott.
I had a question for Ted, when he was discussing the timetable on the jail. Does the council have to pass a resolution, agreeing or with a buy, operate, transfer group? Does the council have to do that?
Not on the build, operate, transfer, on the financing, yes.
Okay, all right, I didn't know if the council had to pass a resolution that, as far as for procurement, that's the system you wanted to go with as well.
No,
Okay,
not required.
okay, thank you.
Toby, did you have something?
Yeah, one omitted item I forgot to bring up. Last week, twice, spoke with Sheriff Bill Brooks in White County. As I've said many times, he's been very gracious to take our overflow. But the important matter that he brought to my attention was that their numbers are increasing as well. As of last Thursday, I was in a meeting with him and had learned from him that they had 87 in their jail, and the cutoff, the 80% mark is, as we've discussed before, 80% level for them is 104. So, obviously with them having Indiana Beach and tourists and various things coming up this summer, the bottom line was, the sheriff had shared with me, was that I may have to call you and have you come and get your folks. So, if that were to happen today, I don't anticipate that will, obviously, as I shared earlier, we would have to bring 9 back, and that would put us 53 in our 34-bed facility. So, just FYI at this point.
You don't wanna take a few of them home with you?
No, I think Commissioner Pearson would have liked that.
Well, I tell you what, we can, you know, summer's coming up, we'll go out of town with a chain link fence and get a couple dogs, bird dogs, we'll be good.
So,
Pillory would be cheaper just about here, just put your hands and head in it.
yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to share.
Yeah, well, that might be a problem we might have. I mean, the last couple of years, they've had a lot of problems up at, Indiana Beach Campground, so, they may have to be,
Yeah.
okay, I guess there are two things I wanted to bring to you two gentlemen and to the public. First is just a statement, but I want you to know that in all of the years that I have had the honor and pleasure to serve as a commissioner, and of all the different people who have sat beside me through the years, we have all been on the same page as far as this is an open meeting. Everybody gets to speak, everybody can talk. And I want to thank both of you for continuing that, and I want the public to know that when we have a meeting, you are welcome at any time to say, I want to speak on that topic, and you get to talk. I can't tell you how many times I have come in with an opinion And either through one of my colleagues or something said out here, I've seen something new that I hadn't thought about or was convinced that, my gosh, he's right, you know? And changed my vote because of discussion. I don't believe that any body that is having an open meeting in Carroll County should not be open to people to speak. I do not believe that. I think that is about as un-American as we can get. To sit and say, nope, it's our meeting, can't speak. And so, that's about all I'm gonna say on that, but I want you to know that I appreciate the support of you two guys on continuing that, and definitely think that's the way we need to continue. I have one small problem that I need to bring up for both of you, you don't need to decide on it today, but we allow this room now. Going back several years ago, and I've used this example many times, of when I was in Cubs sitting up here, and Barry Emerson was the attorney sitting over here. There was discussion about who was gonna use what space in the courthouse and how it was gonna be moved around. And his answer to us at that time was, and Ted can correct me if this is not the way it is anymore, but he said the commissioners control the courthouse. And that clause that he pointed out is what the commissioners say is the auditor's office, that is the auditor's office, okay?
You got a new office, Ben?
I know.
And
You've said that like 3 times, Bill, it's kinda scaring me.
so, what's that?
I said, you said that about 3 different meetings, and
Oh,
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to read that in.
Probably 10,
Oh.
I've used this example, yeah. But, we wanna all get along. One of the reasons that I had thought about perhaps having the, vote center, which takes up a lot of weeks now with early voting, move out to there would be so you would have another meeting space in the, you know, whether we move there or have that for other meetings down in, that's discussion. But, we always allow meetings in here, but we have a problem with this desk. Because they take the desk over, and I have sat there and watched while they, and I don't like that.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
How about your old room?
To move all this over to?
No, to put desk in there, and it can be the commissioner's room, nobody's using that room.
Uh-huh.
The investigator is not using that room, it's open, it's right beside this office, because I'm thinking the voting center that you wanna do, they have to have a place to vote in the courthouse.
That's a rule now, it has to be in the
Yeah,
court.
it always has been. They used to vote in the back of the clerk's office when it wasn't so prominent to do absentee voting. Then they moved it to the lounge, which we gave to the surveyor. And I don't believe that the new lounge would be big enough. But that's something you should talk to Sharon about, but also the clerk, but I don't believe that you can. I think she's gonna tell you that she has to have a voting
She
center
has to have it in the
in the
courthouse.
courthouse. But I think that would be ideal for you guys to have your desk in there, and you can have all your stuff in there.
You know, when I was out putting out signs for when my son ran for Senate, there was one of the courthouses around here had a tent set up right out on the courthouse lawn where they were voting.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
That'd be so unsecure today.
okay,
Yeah.
well, you don't need to talk
That
to
was just
Sharon,
4 years
that's
ago.
Sharon's, that's her bailiwick, not mine, so,
Maybe
but I
if I
do.
would have press meeting.
maybe that's people crawling under the tent.
So you're gonna move me out into a tent now?
Well, you have more room.
Yeah. During the summer, I might want.
Well, I don't mind sharing the room, but I don't like people going, there's stuff up here that doesn't need to be shared with everybody. I know, I had a letter that I have right here that, is from, it's one of these IDEM letters that are, there's a kind of required by IDEM of whether they have to tell us, maybe this one isn't. Oh, this is a suggestion sent in today, but I often have, letters up here that where, when they're renewing their license for a CAFO or, applying for a new one, we're notified, not that we have a lot to say about it, but we get notified of it. And I
Got
always
one
read
last
it.
week, I think.
Huh?
I got one last week.
Sure, we get them pretty well continuously. But those don't need to be read by everybody sitting up here, or looked at, or, well, who's doing what here, you know? So, my opinion would be, I'd like to leave the room for people, but nobody sits up here.
I always thought that myself.
I've asked him not to set up there, but he doesn't tell us how.
Maybe we need to put a chain across or something. What do you think, Laura? Huh? An electric fence? Probably work, yeah.
I mean, one time I
Remember
went
the
up
last
there,
section?
It'd be nice somewhere.
Have to get up
they
there.
just took like one of my documents I had
Excess.
there and they drew big pictures on it, on the back, I'm like,
That's when I told him that they should not be sitting up
It'd
there.
be nice to have somewhere to have this access.
alright.
Well, I throw stuff away, I think, well, should I throw it away to keep it? I'd like to keep this halfway, I know.
Well, over there, the only two people that I would know that go in there is the recorder has the back room, and she doesn't go in there that often, and is the light switch is PQ.
Well, originally, when we used that room over there as the commissioner's office, the concept was, if you had somebody needed to come in and speak to you, you know, or wanted to talk to you about something, you could say, well, meet me over here, and not for the three of us to meet, but for any one of us had a spot to sit down with them and talk. And we had filing cabinets over there, put stuff in.
I'm in favor of putting, if you move two of your desk out, and here you have more room in your office.
You have one for me.
One of them. But no, your desk, I went in.
Yeah,
There-
well, that's true.
there's-
But, it won't really fit, so I'll just have to get me a little,
Yeah, one of the, roll tops is a commissioner's desk, right?
and there's another one over there in the other room, in the back room.
You know, I've hardly ever been in the back room, it's always kept locked up.
Well, she does keep it locked, but
Yeah.
we could do that.
Well, we just got a new building too, so maybe we can, I don't know if everybody else has to meet in here. I like,
Bingo, you got a good idea there too.
well, it came to me by phone.
And you're not supposed to be doing that. I learned
Somebody
that,
watching
Yeah.
just sent you a,
we learned that at
Our
the
world.
conference last week, that you should not be passing emails
Wasn't he?
between the text now. Text between,
But I don't know.
To you
I-
guys.
To me, council needs to
You
be
can't
here,
do that.
but all those other meetings can be somewhere else.
well, Mike, we may need to look at
That's fine.
a room.
You have the big sanctuary area,
Pardon me?
what used to be like the sanctuary or the gathering area during the funeral home. That's still gonna be opened up.
It is?
Right. For now, it'll still be open and, you know, of course, depending on what you guys decide to move in there later, it might get chopped up a little bit.
Right.
But there will be still a large area there to where you could hold meetings and
And all the
that.
meetings that you have, you always have to find
Right,
out
so the
space
EM,
for
like
it,
the Emergency Management Advisory Council will move there. The, local emergency planning committee that's required by the state will move there as well. Of course, I'd open it up to the 911 advisory board if they wanted to meet down there, since their meeting's right after my advisory council. You
Well, I
know,
know I've continued this meeting out, but I'm glad I brought this up, because you've now advised me that we can't move the election out of here.
you better check with Sharon,
Well,
I'm really
okay.
believing
Good.
that.
But I think the
She
one
said
problem is
that.
they leave the.
I haven't
voting
seen the
booths up,
statute.
And as long as those vote, I can't be in that building if they're not there.
Well, wait a minute, what did you just say? You can't be in the building?
They leave the voting, she leaves those voting machines set up,
Right,
and if nobody from the clerk's office is there, I can't be in that building.
even if it's fenced off or locked off, or,
Right, right.
I mean, we're in the building right now.
Right, but she's got people there and it's locked up, and the way, it's a completely
So
separate
another
thing,
hurdle we gotta meet here, yeah.
so,
But we could do meeting room down there.
It's a, you got that big open area in the center.
Yeah.
I like that.
We met down there.
Oh, it's terrible acoustics down there.
But down there where it's made for good acoustics. And there's room there, there's furniture, gonna be loud.
Thinking of night meetings in the new building,
Yeah, what about
security.
security?
Would you have to have a security person there? It's just an additional cost.
Right now,
Apparently,
we
my
just- yeah,
head
I
is
like
in
that.
money, yeah.
We but you would, because offices could be locked.
I'd have to change out the doors
Right.
to lock those doors, and it depends on what she keeps there.
Sorry to keep you too long here. Anyway, we can work on this.
Right, and then, I mean, that's an option, and one of the suggestions that was brought out early on when we started looking at that is if we had another pandemic and you guys wanted to keep your meetings going and you needed a bigger area,
It's a lot bigger.
that's a lot bigger area down there,
Okay.
so you'd be able to space out. Or if you had a joint meeting.
Is there anything else to come from the board?